Hello, everybody. Today we've got an updated poll for Ohio, so we're going to spend a few minutes and see where things are at. So I've got it up here. This poll is from Emerson, and Emerson has put out some other polls lately, including one in Kentucky where Andy Beshear has a significant lead in that governor's race. We could look more at that election some other time, but this is going to go back to that key race of Ohio. The chance of the Republicans flipping the U.S. Senate next year significantly depend on if incumbent Sherrod Brown is able to hold this seat. So what are the results in this poll? Well, in the head-to-head matchups, it's not looking good for Brown. He's really only in the mid to high 30s as an incumbent. Now there's more than a year left. I wouldn't pay too much attention to this, but in the other polls we've seen earlier in the year, Brown is at least in the 40s in those polls, so maybe it doesn't mean anything, but I would think Brown would like to be at least in the mid to high 40s as a three-term incumbent. Now the potential Republican challengers, there's three of them. Their support is also in the 30s, but they still have to go through a primary as well as get their name recognition up, and they're already running even with Brown. Against Matt Dolan, Brown is actually down by 2, 38 to 36. Brown against Frank LaRose. LaRose is up by 1, 39 to 38. And against Bernie Moreno, there Brown has a 2-point lead, 35 to 33. So clearly there are a lot of undecideds, at least in this Emerson poll. But given how much Ohio has trended toward the Republicans over the past decade, it's going to be extremely tough for Sherrod Brown to hold on. Now, I've given him the benefit of the doubt before. I've had it as a tilt for Sherrod Brown, but that's preliminary. If we keep seeing polls this close or Brown trailing a year out, then the Republicans' odds of having a pickup here are obviously going to increase. So what else does Emerson say? Well, it seems like there's a lack of enthusiasm for Brown with his key demographics of support. These voters aren't necessarily coming out for the Republican, but a third of voters under 30 say they would vote for someone else or are undecided. 38% of black voters indicate the same. But the one positive for Brown is he is leading by a couple of points amongst independent voters. So with this same poll, let's see what else is going on in Ohio. How about Governor Mike DeWine? He's sitting at a 34% approval rating. That's low, but only 28% disapprove. A massive 37% are neutral. So that's a net 6 positive for DeWine. How about Joe Biden? How's he doing? Well, it's not looking good. A massive 58% disapprove. Only 25% approve. Another 17 are neutral. It wasn't that long ago Ohio was a critical swing state, but after a poll like this, those days seem like a long time ago. How about the matchup between Trump and Biden? Trump is up by double digits. He has a 12-point lead, 45 to 33. 12% would vote for someone else, 11% undecided. If that actually held up, that would be a safe margin, over 10 points for Trump. I don't know if that's actually going to happen, but based on this, it looks like neither side might be spending much in the presidential election next year, and the only thing that's going to be competitive here is that Senate election. So how solid are voters on Trump and Biden? 55% of Trump supporters say there's nothing he could do or say that would make them change their minds. Only 20% say they could change their mind. With Biden voters, it's not too far off. 49% say they're not going to change their minds. 21% say they could. Then they ask about the two previous elections and how fair they were. The thing I took note of here is 40% of Democrats think the 2016 election was stolen compared to 65% of Republicans that think the 2020 election was stolen. Independents think both elections were fair and square, 59% in 16, 44% in 20. When I see that, all I can think of is extremely low confidence in the elections. Of course, more Republicans think 2020 was not fair, but that's still a huge chunk of Democrats in 2016. 40% seem to think that was not legitimate. I don't know how we could close that gap. Maybe it would take a landslide election to do it, but as I always say, whoever wins next year, the other side is not going to accept it. There's going to be all kinds of excuses and accusations. It's not going to be pretty. So that's kind of it for this poll. Not the hugest sample size, 438 registered voters. The main race again is going to be Brown against whoever the Republican is, and you can look at the other hypothetical polls for that matchup here. If you're a Brown supporter, you've got to be thinking this is a precarious position. I would be nervous if I was Brown. This is not the first poll that shows you with underwhelming support. If I was the Republicans, I would also not count him out. He's got 3 terms under his belt. Even if they were under favorable environments, you can't get complacent and think you're just going to flip that seat. But if you do think he's going to flip the seat, you're not alone. Here's the market on Predict It. Here the Republicans are the moderate favorites to win that seat. Anything could happen. I think it's going to be close. Brown does have the benefit of not having a contested primary. Republicans are known to have a lot of infighting. They could blow another opportunity. Plus, we got to see who they even nominate. Is it going to be a super establishment candidate? Is it going to be an outsider Trump candidate? That'll all be coming up. But that's a look at another early poll for Ohio. Let me know in the comments. What do you think the status of this race is? How concerned should Brown be with another poll that does not show him in a great position? And what about the margin for president. Could this thing hit 10 points? Or will everything turn around for Biden and this state actually becomes competitive again? Let me know down below. On your way out, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Join if you'd like to support the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.